everyone, and welcome to the 17th PvP Live podcast. Can you believe 17? I mean, pretty soon we're going to be celebrating our 20th PvP Live podcast. I don't know about you guys, but that is one heck of an accomplishment, if I do say so myself.
Pretty soon the PvP Live podcast will be able to drink.
There you go, right? Oh my gosh. That's a scary thought.
Anyways, I don't think we want that.
I am your host, Jason, accompanied by PvP Live staff members, Aridin, Eldakar, and unfortunately, Davis, our little sick kitten. He could not make the call tonight, but we will have to do without him. Aridin, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I am doing great. I've had a very busy day, and I'm so glad to be sitting on my ass doing this podcast with you guys.
Yeah.
And JD, Davis, if you're listening, I hope you get well, man. He's a little under the weather right now, so.
Yeah, stay strong. Eldakar, going down to you. How was your weekend? How you doing?
I'm doing great, too. I had a good weekend, and I'm looking forward to doing this podcast. Although, like Danny, I'm a little sad that Davis couldn't be here. But I gotta say, that is an adorable picture of Davis.
Isn't it? That's kind of like whenever I, don't see Davis in person over Skype, that's kind of how I picture him. As just like a praying little kitten. Just looking up at the sun, just wishing for warmer weather in Scotland. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about as far as some data mining for this new patch coming out. Kind of the first thing I want to jump into, not really PvP related, but the new Dreadraven mount got mined over at MMO Champion. It is, if I have to say myself, pretty dang slick looking. I wouldn't mind it myself. It is possibly, we can't say 100%, but it's probably going to be the Collector's Edition mount in Pet going with Warlords of Draenor, but we're not entirely sure. Aridin, what do you think about that new Raven mount?
I think it looks amazing. Just last week we talked about it would depend on kind of what the mount and Pet looked like if we were going to be pre-ordering the Collector's Edition, Mm-hmm. And I kind of think if that's the Collector's Edition mount, I might have a Collector's Edition pre-order on the way.
Yeah,
well, it's really cool. I like it a lot.
What's cool is, too, I believe, like we were talking about last week, is, as soon as you pre-order the Collector's Edition, you get access to those mounts. So that's kind of exciting, and I bet that's going to boost sales on the Collector's Edition. Eldakar, what do you think about the new Dreadraven mount?
That is a nice-looking mount, yeah. I've got to say. But I don't know if it'll be enough to get me to buy the Collector's Edition, but it does look nice. Personally, it excites me for the possibility of seeing higher resolution remakes of some of the classic BC mounts. Mm-hmm. I'd love to see the Armored Nether Drake make a comeback.
Yeah. I think everyone would enjoy that. Well, I mean, I think, everyone loves mounts. But this is, in particular, this one really catches my eye. I like the color scheme. I like the Raven, motif. It's a really good-looking one. Jumping in. Cool. Kitten of Scotland, Jay in chat just said. That is a funny pun. I should have thought of that myself. First, jumping into the first topic of the night. Like I said, we're going to be talking about a lot of data mining stuff tonight. Jay Exhill from PvP Live has been on the spot on a bunch of the data mining posts. If Jay could maybe link that in chat for us right now, that would be great. First, kind of want to jump in and talk about Prideful Galdiator's gear. It's been data mined to show item level of 550, as well as having no new designs, but the colors from Horde and Alliance have basically been swapped. Kind of an interesting concept. I'm kind of almost glad to hear that, because hopefully maybe that'll put the artists a little more focused on Warlords of Draenor, maybe get it a little sooner to us. I'm sure that's probably their thought process as well.
I think that has a lot to do with it, honestly. It's kind of the swap of colors was probably, in my opinion, a quick answer to not having new designs, right? But right now at this point they have their art team, everybody really focused on Warlords of Draenor, so I don't mind one bit.
What do you think about the the item level going up to 550 while we're with you, Darren?
I mean, it seems like a pretty big jump from the current item level of 522, which is going to become the new honor gear. So somebody in full Grievous gear later on next season, or full honor gear, will be going up against somebody in full conquest gear. Might have their hands full. But, I mean, I think it's cool. I think they're definitely keeping their eye on sort of this PvE versus PvP gear in World PvP. And the 550 item level should definitely bring it a lot closer.
Mm-hmm. Before we talk about the increase to base resilience, I want to get Eldekar's opinion on the new item level range raise, and also what do you think about the color swapping? No new models. Obviously, people are going to complain about everything, and of course, I mean, people have a reason to complain. No new models for new gear, but what do you think about the simple color swapping?
I've got to agree with what you guys already said. It means more development time going to Warlords of Draenor, more content for Warlords of Draenor, and hopefully they'll get it out the door sooner. So, I mean, really, I don't need new models for this, what's basically a filler season. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's just there for us to kill a little bit more time, have some fun in PvP while we wait for Warlords of Draenor. So, I don't want
we have transmog anyway, right?
Yeah, I don't want them wasting more development resources than needed to get this going. Just give us the gameplay. But
what do you think about the increase to item level at 550? Is something else too. I just want to say before I get your response. Lord noted that it's important to remember, because a lot of people were kind of questioning, the base item level is kind of comparative to PvP now. So Lore kind of responded.
PvE.
What did I say?
You said PvP.
That's not what I meant. I meant PvE. Thank you. It's important to remember that flex gear can be upgraded to item level 548 and has extra advantages through things like sockets and set bonuses. Eldakar, what do you think about this? It's kind of a large raise to item level for PvP gear.
I see a lot of people saying that it's such a huge raise, but I think it's only marginally bigger than the raise that we had going from Season 13 to Season 14, which was, 496 to 522? That was a big jump as well. This might be a little bit bigger, but it's really not that much. And it's really a necessary evil to keep up with the massive increases in PvE item levels from tier to tier. Obviously, PvE is not getting a new tier here, but they're still so far ahead that we needed a big jump to catch up. And I think this item level is perfect. Like Lore said, the PvE, the flex gear, they have upgrades and other things that they can use to put them ahead. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that Conquest gear is going to be ideal, at least compared to flex gear, and it's certainly not going to be better than normal or heroic gear. But in terms of world PvP, this new gear should give PvPers a chance to actually compete. And with PvP power on PvP gear, as well as the 2600 resilience bonus from the Trinket 2-piece, I think a PvPer should at least be able to hold their own against somebody in upgraded normal gear and maybe even against heroic gear.
Aridin, going up to you. Did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, well, not so much that. I kind of just wanted to jump on the whole flex gear versus the new conquest gear. And I think a lot of the concern that PvEers are having is that, now I don't have to do, or I'm sorry, not flex, but looking for raid gear. A lot of PvEers are saying, well, now PvPers can just get their Grievous and do better than us in flex or whatever. But one thing to keep in mind is that not only as Lore and Eldakar kind of elaborated on, you can upgrade the looking for raid gear. It has set bonuses, more gem slots, but it's also going to take probably, I would say, between 10 and 13 weeks to get fully conquest geared out. If you're doing your cap every week, even if you push higher rating to get a higher cap, it's still going to take quite a bit of time to gather all that 550 item level gear. Right. So, unless you're planning on waiting 13 weeks to raid, you're still going to want to try to get, the looking for raid gear. It might be a good supplement, the 550 gear.
And realistically, by the point where you could have full season 15 conquest gear, flex of Siege of Orgrimmar has been out for so long at that point that I don't think it's even really an argument to be made.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it being a problem if it was better than like heroic gear or something like that, but it's not even close. So I don't see this as an issue. If people bring a handful of pieces of PvP gear into PvE, give them a little bit easier time getting in, I see that as a positive.
I mean, it's really not a negative. Right? I mean, what's the?
Well, it might actually push more people into doing arenas
to try it
or
out.
rated battles.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get those pieces they're missing, right?
Absolutely. And if it gets more people that have only been doing PvP to try out raiding, to try out PvE, that's just more content that's more accessible to people, that gives people a chance to try new stuff and fill time while we wait for Warlords of Draenor.
Before we go on to the next two topics, Zal Gaming in chat just asked, when is the next patch? Unfortunately, we don't have an exact date. It just went up on the PTR, but that's a great question. Eldacar, if you had to guess.
I guess I'd say 4 to 6 weeks.
That's a pretty accurate turnaround. You know I like the guessing game. Danny, what do you think?
I was thinking the same thing before he even said it. Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks. That's generally a PTR.
As soon as the PTR goes up, that's about the cycle for it. Okay, so now the next thing we want to talk about is increase to base resilience and battle fatigue. Battle fatigue being dealing damage to another player in battle causes them to receive 65%, up from 55%, less healing. So just starting with battle fatigue, going down to Eldacar, what do you think this means for Arena?
It's hard to say. I think it'll keep pace with the extra item levels and the extra damage and healing that people are going to be able to put out, combined with the increase in baseline resilience. Mm-hmm. Really, what we're looking at with this change is healing will be about 22% less effective than it is now. So a heal that would heal for 100 now might heal for like 73, 74, something like that.
Aridin,
a little bit higher, actually.
As far as battle fatigue goes, up from 55 now to 65%.
I think it's a necessary evil, especially with this big jump in item level from Grievous to Prideful Gear, because heals are going to be doing a lot. Healers will be healing for a lot more. So I'm not sure exactly if the 10% is enough to slow it down. It'll probably feel like a lot when the season starts, as we're all still in Grievous gear. But as people start to gain more gear, I think it's gonna kind of keep the pace, and it's what's needed. It's not the most elegant, but it is what it is. And if you ever want to kill somebody, battle fatigue is kind of needed.
Right.
So
is Eldacar, we were talking earlier before the call about the increase to base resilience. Do you want to go a little more into details, because it's almost pretty much confirmed at this point, right?
Yeah. Well, right now, baseline resilience got increased from 72% to 77%. And the scaling of resilience rating got changed as well. In other words, the formula that Blizzard uses to convert how much resilience rating you have into how much additional damage reduction you're going to get got altered based on the higher level of baseline resilience to try to keep things about where they were. Mm-hmm. I was doing some quick math earlier today, and I found that the changes actually made the trinket bonus a little bit less effective than it is now. Right now, having that 2-piece trinket bonus from like baseline resilience, nothing else, will increase the amount of damage reduction you have effectively by about 8.25%. So you'll take like 8.25% less damage than you would without it. But after this change, we're seeing something closer to, let me pull it up real quick, 6.8%. So the trinkets are slightly less effective, but Dana and I were talking about this. We think this may be an intentional thing because PvP item levels are going up, and the main purpose of this was to encourage people to use the PvP trinkets instead of PvE trinkets. And I really don't think there's going to be much of a danger of that anymore with the PvP item level being so much higher. But it'll be interesting to see if they make further changes to bring this more in line with what the set bonus is now.
Aridin, what would we do without our math savant down there? Aridin, yeah. What do you think about the changes? I mean, overall.
Again, like battle fatigue, it is needed for base resilience to go up. Blizzard lore, Holinka has stated several times that they know it's not the best way to do it, and really 77% damage reduction seems like a lot, right? But that just goes to show how much damage players are actually capable of doing. As far as the trinkets go, one thing we were also kind of discussing is, so right now the item level for Grievous gear, the best gear you can get is 522. And any PvE gear you use in instance PvP scales down to, I think it's 512 item level. Mm-hmm. If anybody can confirm a different number, but I believe it's 512. So what I'm kind of wondering, I haven't even seen it asked yet, is will PvE gear be scaling up from 512 to something lower than 550, of course, but to remain somewhat competitive. If that's the case, and the trinket bonus either doesn't get buffed, or if the trinket bonus stays the same, we may be seeing PvE trinkets again. I would think maybe.
Well, I mean, you would have to think that PvE gear is going to scale, right? I mean, that's Eldar, what do you think about that?
I think it is. I would guess that they're going to increase that ceiling up to 540. And maybe you're right, Danny. Maybe this will open the door to some PvP trinkets. But really, I mean, we're talking about like a minor decrease in the effectiveness of the trinket bonus. It is a decrease, but it's still pretty minor. I don't think we're going to see too many PvE trinkets, if any at all.
Well, and also along with that, the PvE trinkets I think were all changed to only work 50% of the time against. They work half as much against a player target than they do against a PvE target. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on, and maybe something we'll get answers on. But I think maybe people might start experimenting if the PvE item level does go up. Who knows?
Yeah, but overall, I think this increase to baseline resilience is right about where I was expecting it. It should be roughly a 17.8% reduction in how much damage players are taking. And that should correspond pretty nicely to the amount of increased damage players are doing with this new gear.
It'll be interesting to see what happens when base resilience at 100%, right? I mean, what's going to happen?
I don't quite think we're going to get to that.
Right.
One thing I don't like about any of these changes is the fact that they come into effect right as the season starts. So day 1 of season 15, everybody's still in full Grievous. Your baseline resil goes up, battle fatigue goes up, and it just feels like such a hit to the pace of the game, right? I don't know if there's anything they could do as far as kind of gradually increasing both of those numbers as the season goes on, or after a few weeks or whatever. But I don't like that it starts as soon as the season starts.
I completely agree with you, Danny. I mean, people don't instantly get geared up,
right?
And like you said, it totally changes the pace of the game, having that massive increase to damage reduction on day 1. I'd love to see them take this extra 5 points of baseline damage reduction they're giving everybody and just add it like 1 point every 2 weeks. So after 10 weeks, we're up to 77% baseline resilience, but like week 2, we're only at 73%. So it doesn't feel as bad, and it scales up gradually as people gear up. That's what I'd love to see.
Hey, real quick, I want to get to something that was just said in chat before we miss it, but Buttercup Swag says, do you think class changes are going to come? Mage Rogue is absurd, Shaman, KFC, PHDK, and the fact that DKs do so much damage. So I don't want to take Jason's hosting thunder, but I saw that.
Go right ahead. No, please, go ahead.
But I think it's a good question, and it's something that actually, I believe it was Laura responded to, saying that, this is his exact quote, "We're definitely looking out for any balance changes that will be necessary. I don't have any specifics to share at the moment. We'll know more after we can get some testing in, but there will likely be some." I think it goes without saying that they are looking at balance changes, but the most important thing is for all you guys watching, for us, for anybody that's even remotely interested, get on the PTR, test it out, see how things feel, hook up some war games with friends to see how things are going, and leave good constructive feedback on the PTR forums. I mean, it's really in all of our hands to make sure that this next season is going to go smoothly.
Yeah, in turn too, that's going to help Blizzard. In turn, that's going to help us. So I mean, it's people always complain about minor class balances or major class balances, but a lot of people just talk and they never actually go on the PTR and test it. Well, that's the easiest way to
Blizzard needs data to go by, and we provide the data. So, and the more people that are out there testing, the bigger that pool of data is, the more what's the word for it, Jeff? I don't know, the points, You're the data math guy, but basically we need to provide that for them so that they can adjust accordingly.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. The more voices they have, the more accurate picture they can paint of what's actually an imbalance and what's just one person having a negative experience or a few people having a negative experience. And I could not agree with you more. It is so important for everybody to get on the PTR and later the beta when it comes out and just test PvP into the ground. because it's not as cut and dry as PvE testing. It's not, there's no consistent baseline. There's no consistent frame of reference. It's players against players. And the number of different possible combinations of spells and the way that things can play out is just so much more vast. Mm-hmm. So the volume of testing needs to be much, much higher if we want to give them accurate feedback. And historically, PvP testing has been lackluster on the PTR and on the beta. Well, so the more people doing that, the better.
Yeah, something well, actually, the three of us, along with Davis, we talked about a long time ago. We haven't organized it yet, but we were kind of talking, maybe we'll do it for the beta, but we were kind of talking about maybe organizing PvP live, PTR testing parties, basically, where, we all go on at one time, get some arena groups together and start testing it as a group, us along with the viewers and everyone. And, if you guys are interested in something like that, please tweet at us or tell us in chat, because that's something.
Or put it on the forums.
Put it on the forums. Yeah, we're interested in doing it, but probably not till the Warlords of Draenor beta comes up. But I think it could actually really help the community.
I don't know. I'd like to see some Alterac Valley testing now.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will be talking about AV pretty shortly. Until I get to that, I just want to remind everyone to go to pvp-live.com, bookmark that site. Follow us all here on Twitter. Follow us on our PvP Live Twitter, and follow us on Twitch. We have daily updates, blog posts, news posts on the website, and we have a huge list of exciting things coming up in 2014. So please remember to go to our website and bookmark it. Continuing on with the PTR data mining for 5.4.7, actually we'll jump into what Eldakar just said. There has been some changes to dampening and Alterac Valley, but since we were on the topic of AV, let's jump into that first. Basically, there's been some minor or maybe major changes. We don't really know the effect yet to Alterac Valley, probably the most hated BG by the Horde, I would have to say, right? But almost all the NPCs for both Alliance and Horde have had their health increase, as well as an increase to damage output. I'm guessing probably some people are kind of worried about this even extending the duration of AV a little bit more. Aridin, going to you. I mean, what do you think about the changes to AV? Have you jumped in game yet and tested any of it?
I have not. I haven't had the opportunity yet. But just kind of going by what was said and kind of what I know already about AV, having done it thousands and thousands of times, it seems like what they're really trying to do is slow the game down, right? Eliminate this kind of two tower pull thing. That's kind of really what's going on now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I really don't know what to think about it, honestly. I think one of the biggest changes that needs to be made is to the towers, because Horde towers are so much easier to defend, and well, we could get into all that later, but
right.
I really don't know what it's going to do for it. I actually have no idea what to think of it. It's just going to make it a little slower.
It's really hard to, and I haven't been on the new PTR, the PTR for 5.4.7 yet either. But until we actually get some feedback, or someone from our team, or there's some article written about the actual changes to the health and damage output, it's kind of hard to actually see how that's going to sway the game. Eldakar, going down to you. Like I said before, almost all of the NPCs for both Alliance and Horde have had their health increased and the damage output increased. Have you jumped on the PTR yet?
I got on the PTR today, but I did not have a chance to test Alterac Valley. I really want to get in there, though.
Right.
I think, overall, this is a good thing. I would really like to see the health of these NPCs, not just for AV, but for Isle of Conquest as well, increase with every patch where people are getting new higher item level gear, just to keep the difficulty relatively the same. But having higher health and having that increased difficulty, particularly with two towers still up, I think it at least has the potential to maybe shake up some of the strategies and encourage people to try new things, which is really important. I've felt for a while like, maybe there are map imbalance issues. Well, not maybe. I think it's pretty clear there's map imbalance issues. But I think a huge part of the reason why the games always tend to go the same way is because people have this groupthink strategy that's just become ingrained in everybody, and nobody ever wants to deviate from it. And if one side is winning and one side is losing with that strategy and there's no deviation, it's just going to keep going that way. if people actually get in there and try new things and maybe try to defend some towers, take some back, defend the captains, different things will happen. I mean, there may still be that imbalance, but we're not as likely to see huge swings in favor of the Alliance as we do now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's hard to say. It's hard to quantify how, what the sway is going to be with these changes, but it's kind of difficult that it's going to help the Horde at all. I don't see it happening.
I just think any change in strategy is likely to help the Horde, because really, how much worse could it get?
That's true. Yeah,
well, I've played it from both sides, and there's definitely ways for Horde to win AV. They just have to play a more defensive game. They have to defend their towers. They have to defend their captains. But it's not what the general public does. As far as this change, I'm still not going to get my Alterac Blitz achievement. It's not helping me out any.
I don't know if you guys have heard about those Wrath Strat AVs, which is where this guy named Rathamus, pretty cool guy, I actually met him at BlizzCon. He organizes groups of 40 people that simultaneously queue for AV and basically do a 40-man pre-made. But there's no restrictions on who can join. Anybody, even in like full greens, can join that has no experience. So it's really the same kind of cross-section of people that you have in random games, except they're organized. And they're not doing the typical Horde strat. And from what I understand, they win almost every time. So it's certainly possible for the Horde to win, particularly with a little bit of organization. So I just really like to see the Horde, like more people from the Horde come back, unban AV from their queues and just give it a try. Try some new things out. Right. See what happens.
Yeah, it's Eldakar. I forgot about that. We met him at the Twitch party at BlizzCon. Yeah, he had some interesting stuff to say. And like he was saying, he had a huge, very high ratio win rate every time he organized any kind of AV. But yeah, it seems like, it's so hard to organize people in AV. People want to do what they want to do, and they want to fight in the middle and just have a blast. It's a hard one for the Horde overall. I guess one of the biggest data mining finds that's out right now, and one of the things to receive the most positive and negative feedback is dampening change. Dampening is now applied to an arena match starting at the 5-minute mark, down from 10 minutes. It's pretty big. I mean, that's a huge change. We've talked about this in the past couple of PvP Live podcasts, but we finally got confirmation now. Aridin, going with you. I mean, now that it's officially in the PTR and probably going to be, I'm sure it's going to go live. How do you feel now? 5 minutes, 5-minute dampening.
I mean, really, everything we've talked about so far has all been speculation, right? Like, this is what we think 5-minute dampening will do. Now we really get the chance to see what it's going to do and if it's good or bad. I think the news of it kind of has the community sort of torn a little bit. Some people didn't want it, some people did. But now we really get a chance to see. And so we had a whole season of 10-minute dampening. We're going to have a whole season of 5-minute dampening. Now it gives them a chance to see what they want to do in Warlords of Draenor. Personally, I think it's a good change. I kind of like that faster, more intense kind of gameplay. But actually, as Davis said last week on our podcast, I do fear that it's going to become somewhat more of the meta game to hold out until dampening.
Right.
So we'll see how it goes, really.
Yeah, before we go down to Eldakar, we're getting some responses in chat right now. It seems like everyone's kind of on the same page. Everyone loves the dampening changes. Big Moran, best change world. I mean, that's it seems like, it seems like people are pretty happy about the 5-minute dampening. Eldakar, going down to you. What do you think about that? 5 minutes down from 10 minutes for dampening.
Yeah, I agree with Danny. Like I said on previous podcasts, I completely agree with this change. I think it's great. I think it's going to improve the pacing of games. I think it's going to make Arena more enjoyable. You won't have as many of those long, drawn-out stalemate matches, and when you do, they won't last as long.
Right. So
overall, I think it's a very positive change, but it's clearly divided the community at least somewhat. We've got people like my good friend Olivia Grace writing great articles about the counterpoints, why it should stay 10 minutes. I know she's not too happy about this.
Right.
But really the best way to see what it's going to be like is to have people get on the PTR, do some arenas, test it out, see what issues come up, see what comps can possibly exploit this. If there are issues, get on there, find them, bring them up.
Yeah, I guess I should backtrack a little bit and say that this is just PTR. It's not confirmed for next season yet. Anything could change.
Sure.
And real quick, a good friend Novos just sent me a message here on Skype that I told him I'd shout out and read off. He says the dampening change is going to hurt online tournaments that don't have a spectator UI because there's already a delay. He said, like in the Yas Presents tournament they just did, they already start 3 minutes into the game. So you're looking at, once the countdown timer goes off, you got 2 minutes before dampening starts. And I can agree with him there. It is going to be a little rough for these player-run tournaments. But honestly, I would have to say that's not the majority of Arena. It is going to hurt. It is going to suck. But you got to. I think the bigger picture here is live Arena and the ladders. So. Maybe there's something they can figure out. Maybe all the add-on programmers out there can figure something out to make it work better. But
it seems like the kind of the general consensus on 5-minute dampening is it's going to bring a lot more excitement to these matches. But Novos brought up a great point. It's going to be difficult for player-run tournaments to see how that's implemented. And I mean, as of right now, unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done about it until maybe someone can develop a new UI or some kind of add-on for it.
I don't see any solution to that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they could try to get in the game and get it set up faster, but I'm sure they're doing it as fast as they can now.
Right.
It's really an unfortunate side effect, but like Danny said, you got to design around the general population. They can't design the game to what's going to be best for the few tournaments. Yeah. And I love player-love tournaments as much as anybody. I'd love to see more, and I'm glad that Yas Presents is putting them on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But you got to deal with it.
It's unfortunate, but I guess we'll have to see. And like Danny said too, he brought up, this is still on the PTR, but I would say there's probably a dang good chance that it's going to go into live. Moving on to the next topic, Kalarovia wrote a great post on PvP Live, one of our new PvP Live featured writers. She wrote an article, Why Do People Downvote Certain BGs? And this was in response to a very interesting tweet that Laura sent out. He asked the audience, if you do random BGs, do you downvote maps? If so, which maps in which faction do you play? And obviously this is a super interesting question for many reasons, because he is heavily involved in the development of PvP for World of Warcraft. For him to ask a question like that, it makes us think that possibly they're going to do something about some of the battlegrounds as they are, or maybe doing something about the downvoting, or I don't know. There could be a lot of different changes. Eldakar, starting with you first. What do you think about this tweet that Laura sent out?
I think it's an interesting tweet, but really this is Laura's job. He's a community manager. He's supposed to take the pulse of the community. So it really just tells us that they're interested in seeing why people downvote these maps, so that maybe they can make some changes and hopefully, improve the maps that people consistently don't like. And I think what they'd really like to move towards is a picture where Horde and Alliance are downvoting the same maps so that they know where they really need universal improvement. Right now, with one side downvoting certain maps and the other side downvoting other maps, it gives them a mixed picture, and they don't know what's due to map imbalances and other things like that, or just faction preference, or what's legitimate problems with the maps. Mm-hmm. So I do think it was a great article.
Well, this is something that if you guys watch the PvP Live podcast every week, this is something we talk about quite a bit, is random battlegrounds. And, it's super great to see that Laura tweeted this out, and he's actually asking for, the audience's, the players' feedback, because, this is something that comes up on almost a weekly basis on our podcast that we talk about every week. Aridin, what do you think about, Laura sending out this tweet asking for the community's opinion?
As Eldakar said, it's what he's here to do. He's here to get the opinions of the people. But as far as kind of what battlegrounds are being blacklisted and what aren't, I feel that I'm actually kind of in the majority. Like on Horde, AV, Isle of Conquest, always blacklisted, right? Mm-hmm. On Alliance, I think I blacklist Isle of Conquest still as Alliance, just because I'm not a fan of it. And Strand of the Ancients. I don't like the vehicle combat. I'll play AV as Alliance all day.
I don't think I've met anybody that actually likes Isle of Conquest.
No.
I know Alliance people that play it just because it's quick and easy honor and they usually win it. But I really can't think of a single person I've ever met that says I really like Isle of Conquest.
I think the vehicle-based combat, like this siege-based PvP, doesn't really do it for a lot of people because it's not PvP. It's
a PvE element added to PvP.
And it's the same issue with Strand of the Ancients. Go ahead, Danny. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but so those are my least favorite is the vehicle-based ones. Although I had tons of fun in Wintergrasp for whatever reason. But
yeah, I feel like Wintergrasp had a lot more players relative to the number of vehicles compared to Isle of Conquest and Strand of the Ancients.
I always felt like I ran with a group of people and we'd skirmish and kind of turn the tides of battle. But anyways, back on this topic, what I'd really like to see come out of this is not just a blacklisting system, but I'd really love to be able to queue up for specific, if not specific types of battlegrounds, specific team sizes. So like a 10-man, 15-man, 40-man, and have these kind of queues, right? Because I love the 10-man battlegrounds, Warsong Gulch, even Twin Peaks, Battle for Gunna. I love the 10-man aspect. That I've done a ton of rated battlegrounds, and even some 15-mans like Eye of the Storm and Arathi Basin are fun to play from time to time. So I'd really like to see that come out of this, and maybe that's the direction they go. I mean, maybe the people that really want to play 40-mans could just queue into the 40-mans, and
Unsty in chat just said.
Thinking.
Unsty from chat just said, "Queue for random, no vehicle battleground." That'd be a great option. But I think a lot of people's problem with the larger battlegrounds is the PvE elements in them, like the siege tanks or any kind of vehicles in them. I don't have any interest in those either. When I'm queuing to go into a random battleground, I'm there to PvP. I'm also there to complete objectives, but I don't want to be riding around in a siege tank throwing boulders at a wall. That's just me. And some people do like it, of course they do. But I think it's a very small minority that does.
Absolutely. I don't have any issue with the PvE elements, actually. I really enjoyed old school Alterac Valley that had some PvE objectives, and I think I could enjoy current Alterac Valley with some changes. But it's really, like you said, getting in vehicles, player-operated vehicles, where people have to get in there, give up everything about their class, give up everything about their game, and just essentially become a 3-button vehicle. There's no real enjoyment there for me, and I think for a lot of other players. So I think if they made all of the vehicles automated, it would be a huge step forward for even the existing battlegrounds. I might be more willing to try out Isle of Conquest if they made all the vehicles automated and just completely changed it so it was 100% actual PvP.
Or maybe if you completed some sort of objective, then maybe you get another siege tank or something like that. You know, but the player-controlled ones, like you were saying, it's just it takes so much out from the PvP. It's so much out from actual PvPing that it seems like no one really wants to do it.
Exactly.
I think a great example is anybody here, Jeff, you may remember, and anybody in chat. But season 9, when rated battlegrounds first hit the scene and they were the new hotness, they actually had 10-man, 15-man, and 25-man rated battlegrounds, and I lost my train of thought here. But basically, Strand of the Ancients was one of the 15-man BGs, and that was solely won on who had the most dispels and the most slows.
Yeah.
And I played that at a decently high rating before they took it out. I mean, I was like 22 or 2300 at the time, and all we did was dispel and slow. Barely any PvP took place. And this is at high level organized PvP, right? It's not random. So I think I just think it's a good example of why personally I don't find that BG fun.
Absolutely. If they changed it so that the vehicles were not player controlled and that you couldn't cast buffs or debuffs or anything else like that on them, you just damage them, or maybe you can slow them and stuff like that. I don't know. But it would improve enjoyment. And I think they're going in the right direction with the changes to Strand of the Ancients a few months ago, where they made it so it's mostly focused on running bombs, and bombs are way more effective, because that encouraged a lot more people to start picking up bombs and to start attacking players with bombs, and it actually created a lot more PvP.
Mm-hmm. Crywolf
Imagine.
actually
Wait. Okay, go ahead.
Second. Crywolf just brought up in chat. He says, "Yeah, the vehicles being automated makes sense because I've never heard anyone complain about the cart escort BG." That's a really interesting point because it's what's it called? It's the newest battleground, the cart.
Well, Silver Shard Mines.
Silver Shard, yeah.
Silver Shard Mines, yeah. It's I enjoy that BG because you don't really have. You're not controlling an actual vehicle like Eldakar said. You're not pressing 3 buttons. Aridin, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, imagine a game of Strands, no vehicles, and you just had to run bombs. How fun would that be?
I like that.
That would be a lot more fun.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I agree.
Moving on, but actually, before we move on to the next topic, I just want to remind everyone to go to pvp-live.com, bookmark that site, follow us all here on Twitter, and hit that follow button here on Twitch, because we do a PvP Live podcast every Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern. Something new we started recently is every week, PvP Live, the Twitter account, asks if the viewers have any questions for us, and we've gotten a few that we've picked through. One came from Athlete. He's in our chat right now. He's pretty much always in our chat, I think. Love having him here. He asked,
Thanks, Athlete.
Yes, thank you, Athlete, for asking this question. What could we earn other than gear for PvP achievements? Kind of like long-term goals for overall honorable or lifetime honorable kills. It's a really interesting question. Aridin, starting with you. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think that we could maybe earn besides gear? Mean, besides gear and titles, I guess,
There's actually, I think, a ton of things they could do. So to start out with, you have HKs, honorable kills, which I think the maximum achievement is 250, right? That's the Bloodthirsty.
I believe so.
Yeah. And that's been there since Wrath. So throughout Kata and now Mist, I'm sure people have racked up tons more than 250,000 honorable kills, and there's no new achievements, no new titles. That's something they could do right off the bat. That is pretty easy. 500,000, right?
Right.
1 million. Anything like that. So that's one thing. The mounts that have come out, which were for winning either 100 3v3 games or 40 RBGs, those things have been a pretty huge hit, and they look great.
Yep.
I mean, everybody likes cosmetic things. So mounts, the tabards that are out now that you could get for reaching 2,500 arena rating in 3s or 5s, or I believe RBG rating as well. Those are cool. Unfortunately, with the way the season's going, not that many people are that high rated, so only a very small amount of people are actually going to get those tabards. But maybe something cool like that, tabards, cloaks, enchants for lesser rating, anything kind of cosmetic to show off that you are cool, right? That you've achieved something.
I think one of the perfect examples would be maybe just like this is just one example. Maybe a transmog helm or shoulders. A crazy looking one, kind of like the ones that Blizzard was selling on the Blizzard store. Those crazy looking helms.
Anything like that, really. One of the things I really used to like was back in TBC in Wrath. You unlocked pieces of gear by getting ratings. So like 1,800 for the shoulders. 2,200 I think it was for the tier 2 weapon. I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but I like that. I like that kind of idea of progressing. So like back in BC, you had your shoulders, like you were cool, right? Like you were an 1,800 player, like that was good back then, right? Like people saw that. Everyone
knew. Everyone knew you had that.
Yeah, and even like I kind of liked what they did in Cataclysm as well, with a different color for once you reach 2,200 in 3s, 5s, or RBGs. And they did that, I think, the first season of MOP as well. They did a different color, and then it went to once you earned a certain amount of conquest, and now it's 2,000. I don't know, but I like that idea of being able to show off things that you've achieved cosmetically. So I think they could do a lot more with that, honestly. Mounts are a big thing, but those kind of take a lot of development time. Maybe change up the colors on the mounts even from season to season like they do with Gladiator. Tons of things, really.
On the other side of non-viewable things, Danny, before we get down to Eldakar's thoughts, what do you think about maybe some, largely slotted bags or not a huge amount, but, gold achievements? Maybe I actually think the bags might be somewhat interesting because that's something that a lot of people enjoy, having large bags, right?
You know, every every time I think of something like that in game, I always think about the people that are going to complain about it, right?
Oh,
so
they're
like,
going. Everyone's going to, sure.
So you're telling me that if I want to make more money by farming mats, I have to get a certain achievement in PvP? What the hell is this, right? Like,
sure.
So it would be awesome, amazing, because I think all of my characters, I've soloed every boss that drops bags, like Onyxia, Sartharion, like Manaroth even, because I don't want to pay for bags. So to actually get bigger bags from some kind of achievement would be cool. Anything like that, yeah, definitely.
What about something like this? This just popped in my head. What if you got a certain rating or a certain achievement, PvP related, if there was some kind of modification that you could, purchase from a PvP vendor to change the color of your weapon enchants? I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, anything like that. I think cosmetic things are definitely hugely rewarding, and it gives you that chance to show off that you're somebody, right? So like, now we have the Jade Spirit enchant at 2200 that's red.
Right.
Same thing with Dancing Steel, and you notice that. You see it.
Oh, yeah.
This guy's got a red enchant, he's hit 2200 this season or last season or whatever. But it's cool, it gives people a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, and you can see it. It's visual.
Yeah, that red enchant is super noticeable too. I mean,
Yeah.
you can spot that from a mile away.
And that's actually, to be honest, it kind of ties in with transmog a little bit. One of the reasons that I really am upset by transmog is because before you got to visually see the accomplishments players made. Whether it was PvE gear, whether it was PvP gear, you could see, just by looking at a character in Stormwind or in Orgrimmar, what they've done in the game, right? So, and I really like that, and I'm sure a lot of players like that as well. So anything cosmetic would be really cool.
Eldakar, going down to you, one of our viewers, Athlete, asked, what could we earn other than gear for PvP achievements? What are your thoughts?
I completely agree with Danny. A lot more cosmetic things would be really fun. One thing that I think would require a little bit more work on the developer's end, but would be really cool, is if there were some way to show off like some physical thing on the flags on PvP ground mounts, the flags that come off the back of the mount. Like you get some kind of special skull or some kind of special adornment on that flag that goes across all of your different PvP ground mounts. That is there anytime you earn a specific achievement. So if you got like the Battle Master achievement, you get some kind of specific thing that shows up on all of those flags, so that you can show off that you're a Battle Master or a Gladiator or something else like that. And you could just kind of stack up those achievements. So if you see somebody running by in a battleground and they've got that flag on the back of their mount showing off all these different achievements, you're like, wow. And it'd be the same kind of effect that Danny was talking about before, where you used to be able to look at somebody's gear and say, yeah, that guy's got the 2200 or the 2000 shoulders. He does well in PvP. Same kind of thing, except now it wouldn't interfere with transmog. But it would probably be a lot more work on the developer's end to implement the system like that.
Well, it's kind of like noticing a high-ranked general in the real military. I like that. Changing a certain unique icon on the flags for PvP mounts, that's a great idea.
I think there just needs to be some kind of visual effect that players can show off to demonstrate their PvP achievements while they're actually doing PvP. Because right now, I feel like we've kind of lost that. Other cool things that they could do are with the new toy system, where they're moving it away from being trinkets to like a separate system in your bags that you can activate. They could give us cool PvP related toys, or maybe even like non-combat pets that interact with each other. Like if you guys have ever seen Grunty and the Zergling, they'll fight each other when they bring them out next to each other.
Yeah.
Maybe like
Merkalot.
Little PvP squires or something. The Horde could have a Horde squire, the Alliance could have an Alliance squire, and they start fighting. I don't know, cool stuff like that.
You brought up a good point too. Is how sought after is a hardened shell from that island in Miss, right? Where is it exactly? You know what I'm talking about. You kill that elite and you get a hardened shell that can knock people out of the air.
To knock off their mounts. Yeah,
that'd be kind of a cool reward, right? Because that's still heavily farmed, that elite.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of different toys and cosmetic things that they can introduce, and they've had so many unique trinket effects that come out of PvE.
Right.
So many cool things that like transform your character into something, or spawn like a tentacle, crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, some wings or something like that.
Yeah, and we really haven't seen any of that in PvP. It's been, boring trinkets and.
I mean, you can even keep it as simple as something as like an aura, like a glow around your character, right? That
yeah, absolutely.
You can activate or whatever, or it's always there. However you want to do it. I mean, anything that shows that you've accomplished more than somebody else, or as much as somebody else, like that's cool. Players like that.
Suave Welshi from Twitch chat just said unlockable weapon skins through PvP would be cool. That'd be another great option,
Yeah.
Kind of on the lines of, customized enchants or something like that.
Yeah. I think special transmog sets that go along with certain achievements could be really cool, or maybe just one big special transmog set, and you unlock certain pieces of it through certain achievements. So you get one piece for Arena Master, one piece for Battle Master, that kind of stuff, one piece for Bloodthirsty.
Or one piece for completing so many AVs. I bet Horde would never have one of those.
And
well, maybe they will if you gave them.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right? Maybe if we heavily incentivized AV, we get more Horde in there trying. And there's other cool things that they could do with like garrisons. They could have special ways to like
decorate even.
Maybe decorate your garrisons.
Oh, yeah.
We totally forgot about that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you could add catapults to your garrison.
A trophy room, right? You invite other people over to check out your trophies.
They said they're going to have a trophy room, but you could have like special cool trophies just from PvP. I mean, I'm sure they're going to have some, but
you know what?
Just make them really cool.
Forget about trophies. You know what I want? I want a crocodile moat around my
garrison. Yeah, there we go.
Right? I want crocodiles snapping out of a huge, dirty moat surrounding my garrison.
I want to see the garrison changed from just the plain old garrison that we saw in the demonstration at BlizzCon to one that has the alligator moat and has catapults and arrow towers and fire and stuff that make it look like an actual keep that you don't want to mess with.
Yeah, I mean that's something we've talked about before, but they didn't really give us too much information on the garrisons, or they showed us some brief pictures of some of them. But yeah, I mean I think we're all hoping those to be a little bit more developed as time goes on. But yeah, that's I guess we kind of forgot about the garrisons, huh? That'd be a great maybe a little added incentive for some achievements in PvP. Going on to the next Twitter question from PvP Live, Dan Blinks from Twitter asks, could you talk about whether the conquest cap is needed in this late stage of the season? That's an excellent question. Danny, Airden, starting with you, you want to answer that?
Yeah, it is a weird question because for somebody who maybe just be hitting 90 right now with a fresh character, I'm pretty sure you can almost completely gear your character out with just grinding your cap in 1 week, if not very, very closely. As far as is there a reason to have it right now, I'm going to go ahead and say no. Everybody that's been playing seriously, that's been, grinding rating all season long or whatever, they have their gear, and the other people that are stuck in honor gear, maybe there is no point to have a conquest cap right now. The only reason I could see having a conquest cap is maybe to keep flavor of the month rerollers in check. Mm-hmm. Maybe, but that's really the only reason I could think of.
Eldakar, I mean, what do you think? Like I said, Dan Blinks from Twitter asked, could you talk about whether the conquest cap is needed in this late stage of the season?
Yeah, I've got to agree with Danny. I think it's really not necessarily needed. And like you said, Danny, it could maybe keep flavor of the month rerollers in check, but at the same time, why? Why do you need to? If somebody wants to level up a new character and start playing that character in PvP, I think it should be viable for them to do that, especially when we come to like the end of seasons where things are starting to slow down and get boring. Give people more stuff to do. But I wouldn't want to see just a date where all of a sudden the conquest cap gets lifted. I'd much rather see them take the catch-up cap system and just improve it. So as you move towards the later ends of the season, your cap just gets bigger and bigger, faster and faster, so that eventually you get to that point where there's effectively no conquest cap. But I don't know. I guess that wouldn't really work for new characters, though. So I don't know. Maybe just pull it out.
It's kind of a hard question.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because you definitely need the cap at the beginning of the season.
Sure.
Otherwise, teams would play 1,000 games in one day and be fully geared.
Right.
So you do need it to begin with. But I would think that after, I don't know, once you start getting to like 15, 20 weeks, something like that, it's really, most people have their gear by then. Most people that have been playing will be fully geared. It's a tough question to ask. Like, if you were to ask me right now in the current season at this week, I think it's like week 19 or something, do we need a conquest cap? No, because
you
why?
can already do it. You get fully geared now anyways.
I can level up to 90, over the week and get all my gear in one day if I wanted to now.
Right.
So
yeah, and if you think about it, when the next season starts, people can effectively do this kind of thing anyways just by grinding the old gear through Honor.
Yeah.
So it would just give people a chance at the end of a season to do their catch-ups in advance. If they have a character that they want to play next season or something like that, you wouldn't have to wait for the next season to come out before you could get that gear really quickly and easily. So why not? Maybe even make the Conquest gear available for Honor a little bit in advance of the next season starting so that people can spend a week or two catching up before the new season comes out.
Just a quick little time slot, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, remove the cap, I think when they do the 2-week notice, the season ends in 2 weeks, they should lift the cap and just let everybody that has characters that need to be geared grind it out.
Just do it. Get ready for the next season. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I like it.
I want to. I lost it here. I think. Snuggly TV and Twitch mentioned that the Elite gear is bought for conquest points. That's true, and I disagree with that, to be honest. Because Elite gears, I think 2K rating, right? So you hit 2K, you want to get your gear right, and you want to transmog it. You want to. Because you could play 2 games and be under 2K and not be able to get your gear, or tank 200 rating and not be able to get up. It's supposed to feel special, like an achievement. Like I unlocked my Elite gear. It should be like it was in Cataclysm. You should just be able to buy it without, now it's transmog gear. You used to have to exchange your gear, but I don't think you should have to spend Conquest on it. I kind of disagree with that. So...
Eldakar, any thoughts on that? Elite gear is bought by Conquest?
I think Danny's right. I don't really like Elite gear being bought by Conquest. I think it should just be a free thing that you get whenever you hit whatever the requirements are for it, whatever they feel like setting for the next season. I would personally like to see a system where it's spread out across ratings, kind of like how it used to be, to give more of that progression feeling, but I completely agree that it shouldn't be bought with Conquest.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, if I really wanted to, if I was really looking forward to getting my Elite gear, and I really wanted that transmog, that color change, and I hit 2K in something, and I knew that it was a possibility that I'd drop below that, I would just sit that rating, farm Conquest in 2s, and buy my Elite gear. So I think in some instances, for players that are like just getting to that 2K mark to get their Elite gear, it discourages them from playing because they want to keep their rating to be able to get their gear. So that's why I disagree with it. And also, Athlete mentioned something about farming gold for PvPers, and being able to trade honor for that. I think that's the problem we have with bots. I think that's never going to happen.
It'd be tough to implement.
Honestly.
Yeah. I have to agree with Danny on that. Bots would just ruin it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they already kind of have that where you can buy, like enchanting materials and stuff like that, or just buy pieces of gear and disenchant them if you're an enchanter. But I just really don't see that happening. I think they do need to add gold income, and their idea of having those bags that spawn with BOE gear in Warlords of Draenor is a step in the right direction. But I'd still like to see some kind of at least small gold reward for winning or losing a BG, just to at least cover the damage to your gear.
Yep.
I know it's minimal, but it's still there.
It adds up.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they could implement... that could be an easy change, I guess. Just some kind of small monetary reward. Nothing too crazy. that you know, a bunch of bots are going to come out to do it, but you know, something enough, like you said, just to maybe cover repairing your gear, maybe a little bit more extra, and that's it.
Yeah. You don't want to make it too much.
As long as I have enough to cover repairs, gems, and chants, I'm happy.
That's pretty much all you need, right?
I'm not looking to buy a sky golem.
Right.
And with the changes to gemming, that may not even be an issue anymore.
Yeah, true.
So we could end up seeing the cost for PvP going down and the income going up to where maybe we're at least breaking even. That's what I'd like to see.
Well, that concludes our Twitter questions and actually our podcast for the evening. I just want to say, too, please, if you guys have if any of the viewers, anyone has any questions for us for the podcast that you guys want to hear, or not questions, maybe even just topics, please tweet us at PvP Live. That would be very helpful for us because we love discussing, you know, different topics we don't think about personally, and we like to, you know, communicate with the viewers as well. But everyone, thank you so much for coming. As always, we got to do last minute shout outs, and I'm so sorry that Davis JD couldn't be here today. He was feeling ill, and in turn, you have a little praying kitten looking at the sun.
He's hanging out in chat, though. He's a trooper.
Yeah, he is hanging out in chat. Aaron, going to you, any last minute shout outs for the evening?
As always, shout out to the chat. Athlete, thanks for your question that we were able to discuss. Big Moran, thanks for chiming in. Novos, sending me messages. Yep. You know, really contributing to this conversation. It's been cool. So yeah, big shout out to chat, and thanks to you guys again. Another week done.
Another week down. Eldakar, how about you? Any last minute shout outs?
I want to give a shout out to the chat as well.
Sure.
Please keep giving us questions. Honestly, the most enjoyable part of these podcasts the last few weeks for me has been answering the questions that you guys submit. Because it's stuff like Jason said that we have not necessarily thought about. So it's new, interesting stuff to talk about. So please shoot us more questions. And a shout out to Lore and Holinka as well. Please keep giving us cool new news. Keep answering the questions.
Yeah, we didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't have a huge amount of news this week, but we did have a lot of data mining news. So I'm guessing in the weeks to come, I'm sure Lore and Holinka will be providing us with plenty of topics to discuss. I just want to give a shout out to the chat like we always do. And like Eldakar said, personally, my favorite thing to do is also communicate with the chat. Unfortunately, I don't get all the answer, or I don't see everything in the chat all the time. So Airden, thank you for picking up on the slack on that and kind of taking over answering some of the questions. But yeah, thank you everyone. And Davis, we miss you. And thanks to everyone in chat.
Remember to go test on the PTR, guys.
Yes.
Don't forget that.
Get out in the PTR and get on the forums and discuss the issues that you see, because that's the only way that you guys can make really a huge change in the development of this game.
Yeah, and it's even easier to do it now. You can just go into the battle.net client and you can download it right from there.
Yep. Yeah. You don't even have to log on the internet or anything. It's right in your desktop, basically, client now. So.
One last huge shout out to Exil MD in Twitch chat, moderating for us, putting those links in there.
Yes.
He's one of our community managers here at PvP Live. Follow this dude on Twitter. Jay, put your Twitter in the chat. And make them all follow you. You need to show him some love. He's doing a great job.
Jay has been doing an excellent job. Thank you so much from everyone at PvP Live, and please remember to go to pvp-live.com, bookmark that site, follow us all down here on Twitter, and click that follow button right here on Twitch. Until next time, guys, thank you so much.